Boker Tov. Today's daf is Daf Yomi in Mציעא. We learn for Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael and Sunnah Matzar v'Shivya. Says the Gemara about the 10th line down on the page. Amar Shmuel. What did the Mishnah say? The Meyad Machlokes that we discussed in detail yesterday between Rav Meir and the Chachamim. If you find a IOU in the street, and if it has a guarantee, a mortgage in there, then you should not return it because the person can enforce payment, and maybe it really fell from the loba, not from the malva. What happens if there's no achrayis nechassim? So Rav Meir says you can return it. We had different views of the Gemara explaining Rav Meir. Is it because it's not worth anything anyway? All you could use it for is a lid, and therefore it's not a problem returning it, and that's even b'chayva is a motor? Or is it simply because Rav Meir says She'ein bezin if wrong man, bezin says can't collect with it anyway? That's where Meir says you can't. The Chum say no, you could collect with it even if there's no guarantee written in the shtar, because it's a mistake. We didn't explain it in the Mishnah, which is bezin could collect with that, and therefore don't return it to the malva. So he says don't return it either way. Either way, we had different views in Rav Meir. Does Rav Meir say that you still could collect from the chasam b'nei chorin, and when Rav Meir says Shein Bes Nefron Man Divrei Rav Meir, does that mean that you can't collect anything, or does it mean you just can't collect from the chasam mishubadim, from guaranteed mortgaged property? But the Chacham say either way you should return it because Besin will collect. Why is that? Amar Shmuel, we're at the 10th line on Yudal. Amar Shmuel, my time Rabbanan. Why do the Rabbanan say you shouldn't return an IOU, even as we explained that even if the lova is moda, that he owes the money, don't return it. Why? Because maybe he really paid it. We said yesterday the outcome was, according to Rabbi Yochanan, that, and the proof was from the Brisa that way too, because we're afraid of a knunya, we're afraid of a conspiracy, that maybe the lova really paid back the loan already. Now you give it to the malva, and the lova says, yeah, I owe the money, he can't pay it, and then you'll collect from his people who purchased land from him, from the lekuchos. So we're afraid of that. But what's the idea? But if it doesn't have any achrayis nechassim, how can you collect? The answer is the Chacham say, like Shmuel explains here, Amar Shmuel, my time in Rabbanan Savri achrayis to sofer, that if you left out achrayis, if you left out a guarantee in a shtar, if it's a written shtar, if you left it out, that's a mistake on the part of the scribe, but it's automatic. In other words, if it's a written document, then the guarantee is in there. Like your property is mortgaged anyway, even if you didn't write it in there. Amalei Rav Barisi L'Ravida Baravan. Shmuel really said, Shmuel Shvach Shefer B'Shibud Tzarich Limloch. When the scribe writes an IOU on behalf of a creditor and a debtor, a malva and a lova, Shmuel says that the scribe should ask, do you want to mortgage your property? That's a shibud, an obligation. Do you want it to include also the any improvement? That's the shvach. Are you really willing to write in there when you sell that lichto b'shtar? Let's say it's a shtar mechira, where he's selling something. That if something happens to this property, I guarantee you can come and collect, and you can collect from any people who bought from me subsequently. And not only that, you'll be able to collect the principal and the improvement before. If your property, let's say you buy a piece of land from me, right? Let's say there's a seller and a purchaser, and he writes in the document, the scribe is supposed to ask, do you seller, do you want to include a guarantee that if this piece of property is taken away from this purchaser, why? Because there's somebody who had a prior lien on it, you will guarantee not only the property, but any improvement that he made. Let's say he improved the property, he fertilized it, let's say. Are you willing to include that too? And when he collects from you, are you willing to give him the shefer? That's like the edus, the best property that you have. In other words, how much of a guarantee are you willing to put into this sale, into this transaction? So Rav says that Shmuel says himself that these things you're supposed to ask. The scribe is supposed to ask. It's not an automatic that he's obligating his property to this sale, to this transaction. Again, he's saying that if you buy this land, I will guarantee it with other land that I have. Well, how much is the guarantee? Is the guarantee just for the land? Is it for the improvement? Is it from my best property? The scribe is supposed to ask all those things, so it's not automatic. You just said Shmuel says, what's the reason, Rabbana? And they say, if you left out achrayus, it's a mistake. It's automatic. Here he says, the scribe is supposed to ask, do you want to include this? Do you want to include that? So you see different that Shmuel says something. Are you saying there's two different opinions in Shmuel? On the one hand, Shmuel says that achrayus, leaving out a guarantee, is a mistake. The other hand, he says the scribe should ask, do you want to include a guarantee or not? It's a little kasha. It depends what's the transaction. Is it a loan? Person doesn't give out. When I lend you money, what do I get out of it? Nothing. Other than a mitzvah, I get nothing. I can't take interest. So what do I get out of it? I'm not going to put my money down for nothing. So in a case like that, I want a guarantee. That's automatic. The lova has to, if I write an IOU, the lova automatically mortgages, guarantees his property against the loan because I want to have something. I'm just not going to put my money down for nothing. I'm not getting out of it. So there, Shmuel says it's a mistake. If the scribe left it out, it's an automatic. If it's a sale, that's different. Because by a sale, you don't always have to put a guarantee in there. You say, why is that? The purchaser, doesn't he want a guarantee? Yeah, but sometimes people, if they're buying something, they're willing to rent it for a while too. They're willing to put down their money, even though they're getting something out of this money, right? The malva, who would, in a case of a loan, a malva and a lova, the malva gets nothing out of this. He just gives them the money and he hopes to get it back. So he wants it's automatic that he gets a guarantee. That he gets a guarantee by all the lova's property is mortgaged to him. But in the case of a buyer and a seller, the buyer doesn't necessarily need a guarantee. He's willing sometimes to put his money down, even he'll use it until it's taken away from him. Sometimes a guy buys a property even for a day or two. There was a story with the father of Bar Ihi. He bought an attic, let's say an upper story from his sister. And then he bought it from his sister. His sister's creditor came and took it away because the creditor had a prior lien on it. Also coming to Shmuel, he came for Shmuel himself. That's the one we're talking about. He said to him, Kosvalach achrayus, did she give you a guarantee? Apparently it's his own sister he bought it from, right? That's a good lesson again about doing business with family. No, did you give a guarantee? Well, she's my sister. I figured, no. Kosvalach achrayus, amalei lo, no chas. Amalei imkein zil sham, go in peace. You're done. You're finished. There's nothing you can do. There's no achrayus. So again, now we're saying that when is achrayus says to sofer, Shmuel says it's only when it's a loan. Then it's an automatic. The malva's not going to put his money down with no guarantee at all. But when it's a sale, it's different. The purchaser will sometimes put his money down even without a guarantee. I understand you. You say go in peace. Forget about my sister. You said that achrayus, putting a guarantee, is a mistake. If he left it out, it's the scribe's mistake, meaning it's an automatic. Shmuel, Rabbi, you said achrayus told sofer. That's by a loan. But it's a sale loan. Sometimes people will buy a property for a day. In other words, even though they know it might be taken away, they might not put a guarantee in there. That's what happens. Like we find here, unfortunately, here that many times they sell the same piece of property to several people, right? So people put down a guarantee each time. The guarantee is not even worth the paper, right? Amar Abaya, Reuben sold the field to Shimon b'achrayus with a guarantee. He put a guarantee in there. And Reuben's creditor came, but Qatar took it away from him. He says, I had a prior lien on this property, took it away. Now, what happens? Who got messed up over here? Shimon, right? Shimon got a bad deal. So you might say, well, he took it away from Shimon. Dinu dazel Reuben mishtay din b'deish. Reuben can now go and intercede with the Baal Chov and say, look, I have a say over here. The reason I didn't pay you is because of this and this and this. In other words, Reuben's not out of the picture. You might say that the Baal Chov could say, listen, this land is mortgaged to me. It's in Shimon's property. I'm taking it away from Shimon. Reuben comes along and says, whoa, what are you doing? He says, listen, Reuben, what do you have to do with you? This land is mortgaged to me. I'm taking nothing to do with you. No, Reuben can have a say over there. Dinu, the law is, the other Reuben can take him to court. Velamotzi Omerle can say, La Baltimore, we have nothing to do with you. The Omerle, because Reuben can say, the Mafkas Mine, the one you're taking the field away from Shimon, Alai Didihar, he's going to come back after me. And therefore, I still have a say over here. You can't exclude me from the diur and from the case over here, because I'm also involved. I might say that the reason I haven't paid you, right? You say you have a claim. The reason I haven't paid you is because you owe me some money about some other transaction. So I'm still involved over here. That's what Rashi says. Let's do a Rashi about the 4 lines into the wide lines. He could push him away. I pay you, either I paid you already, or I have a claim against you. He can't say, the Baal Chov can't say, you have nothing to do with me, because Reuben could say, what do you mean I have nothing to do with me? If this case involves me too. If you take away the field from Shimon, Shimon's going to come after me. Even if Reuben sold the field to Shimon without any guarantee. Now, if he sold it without a guarantee and then the field's taken away from Shimon, pardon?
What's the issue?
Oh, what's the issue? Okay, what's the issue? We'll see. Even if he sold them without price, meaning Reuben's creditor now is going to take away the field from Shimon, and Shimon has no recourse. He has no recourse. He can't go after because there was no guarantee. Still, Reuben can make a claim in there and interject. I don't want Shimon to have a grievance against me. Yes, I don't owe him anything. And if the field's taken away from him, it's too bad legally, but he'll still have a grievance against me because I sold him a field that was taken away from him. So therefore, Reuben still could interject and interject himself into this judgment and try to prove why the creditor cannot really take away the field from Shimon.
Why wouldn't he be able to?
Why wouldn't he? For example, as I just said, Rashi said, Reuben can say, I paid you already. You're the creditor, right? You're coming to say that you have a prior lien on this field that I sold to Shimon, and therefore you're taking it away. Wait a minute, I paid you already. Oh, I don't have the receipts, whatever it was. Or you owe me money for something else. There could be an issue over there. Amar Abaya, 3 lines from the bottom of Yudal and off. Amar Abaya, Reuben Shimon Reuben sold him to field without any guarantee. And as we said, Achrayis is not a tow sofer in a case of a sale. It's only a tow sofer in a case of a loan. And now disputants came. In other words, what happened is this. Reuben sold the field to Shimon. Before Shimon took possession, already there was a complaint that this field Reuben doesn't really own the field, or he owes the money to me, blah, blah, blah. Reuben until Shimon took possession. When is possession when it comes to selling a field? How do you acquire field? Kesef shtar chazaka, either cash or a shtar or chazaka. Now, apparently the shtar, didn't take, maybe the shtar wasn't written yet. He sold him the field, they had a deal, he sold him the field, but he didn't yet take possession. Maybe there was a shtar, but the shtar didn't have any effect yet because he didn't take possession. So before he took possession, he can go back on the deal. Rashi says it was Sholinos and Mos. He's not talking about the shtar. Maybe there was a shtar. Usually you acquire with a shtar, but maybe he still didn't physically take possession, and he didn't pay money, because if you pay money, you don't take physical possession. That's good enough. He gets all back. Once he took possession, I'm not sure about the shtar. Maybe if he wrote a shtar, because a field is acquired with kesef shtar chazaka. So maybe there was no shtar yet. But in any case, there was an agreement. Once he took possession or he paid for it, can't go back on the deal. The Omer Lay, I can't go back. And he says, wait a minute, wait. I took possession, yeah, but there's already I didn't even move in yet, and there's already people claiming that it belongs to them. The Omer Lay can say, listen, you understood that I sold it to you without any guarantee. Right? He said, I sold to you without a guarantee. Guarantee. You bought a sack full of knots. Like we say here in Israel, chatul basak. You don't know what you bought. You were willing to buy this land without any, you thought it was a good deal. Price was low. You didn't know that it was church property, whatever it was. You took a good deal. You thought it was a good deal. So you knew what you were getting into. I'm sorry. You bought a bag full of knots, and as you didn't know what was inside, so you knew about it. You accepted that. Meimasayv said, "What is a chazaka?" And you can't go back on it. As soon as he started walking on the border, on the boundaries, checking it out and demarcating it, that's considered a chazaka, physical chazaka. This is not a chazaka like we talk about a presumption of ownership. We're talking about a physical chazaka when we say that karkas is because of shtar chazaka. Okay. Some say even if he sold it to him, Reuben sold him the field with a guarantee. He sold him with a guarantee, meaning if the field's taken away from you, I'll give you another one. Okay, so we're saying over here, Nami, so now if he sold him with a guarantee, the guy could say, listen, give me my money back. Give me my money back. You guaranteed it, right? Either money or you're gonna make good on it. So even so, he still can't go back on it now. I'll tell you what. Show me the authorization to repossess. What happened over here? There were disputants who claim and said that the field belongs to them, right? The field belongs to them, or they had a claim on the field. He says, I don't want to get into this thing. There's no. Once you made a chazak on the field, it's yours. You say, listen, I don't want to go to court now. These guys are fighting against me. Show me the court's decision that allows you to repossess the field, and you have a claim against me. Till then, I'm not going to say anything. Why? Okay, there's disputants. Everybody has fights. There's a fight who owns the property. I'm not afraid of him. Right? Rashi says, Kol kama dolomas bedin. I'm not afraid of them. There are disputants who claim that the field belonged to them. Too bad. I don't say that. I will guarantee the field, but that doesn't entitle you to go back on the deal now, just because they're claiming against you. Once you took possession, it's yours. Too bad. It's like in Israel, you would say, once you gave them the keys, once you handed over the keys, the deal's final, deal's final. 5 minutes later, somebody's complaining, go to court. Don't come to me. That's what he said here. Now we get into a new issue. Not a new issue here, but sometimes this happens, right? He sold the field to somebody, same thing with a house or anything else, and it turns out that the seller did not own the field. How do you like that? Did that ever happen before? He sold him something, and it didn't belong to him. Now, pardon? That's what he said. You need lawyers. Yeah. The lawyer was part of the whole thing. Anyway, turns out him. Now, he sold him the field, and it didn't belong to him. So what happens now? Let's say Reuben and Shimon. Reuben stole a field, didn't belong to him. He sold it to Shimon. Now Shimon, he sold him with a guarantee. Shimon's going to go after Reuben and say, give me my money back. It was $10,000. Give me my $10,000 back. Now, what happens though? Meanwhile, it didn't happen that same day that he found out. He had worked the whole summer. They fertilized the field, etc. He put in another $100 into it. Does he get the $100 back or not? He put in the field. Now that's the question. Yeah. So Rav says he's entitled to the $10,000 back that he paid for the field or the house, and he's entitled to the improvements that he made. The same thing would be in a house, a field, whatever. Shmuel says no. He's only entitled to the money, not to the improvement. Why not? We'll see. Boimine, we'll give the reason soon. Boimine Meravuna. So they asked Ravuna, what happens if he said, I'm selling you the field? Reuben, the Goslin, said, I'm selling you the field, and I guarantee not only the field, the price of $10,000, but I'll guarantee any improvement that you made also. What do you mean? Simon Shmuel, you say Shmuel's reason when Shmuel says he's not entitled to the improvement because he didn't say specifically, I'm gonna guarantee even any improvements that you made. And here he said, I'm gonna guarantee the improvement too. Keeping the less like karka, since he doesn't really have any karka. What happened over here? It's not a real sale. When you steal something, when Reuben stole it and sold it to Shimon, what did he effectively do? He effectively took a loan. He took $10,000 for nothing. There was no field. There didn't know anything. Now, if he gives him back $10,100, including improvement, it looks like ribis, looks like interest. So that's what he says. Keeping the less say karka. Do you say here? He did say, I'll give you back the improvement. So he owes him the $10,100. So Dilma. Looks like ribis. Amarle. So when he asked him this kasha of Ravuna really wasn't sure. First he says, he's entitled to the money, the extra. But then he said, no, it was lax, it was weak in his hand, meaning he didn't really know. Itmar, here we have Rav Nachman said specifically in the name of Shmuel, Mos Yeshlo, Shvach Einlo, Afal Pisha Pirish. So first we had a machlok because Rav Shmuel, is he entitled to the increase, to the improvement or not? Now we have a proof. Nachman said the name of Shmuel, even though he said specifically, even though he said I will pay you for the shvach too, my time to keeping the karka ain't no, since he doesn't have any karka, schar ma'osav omed v'nolfi. He's basically giving him the payment for his money, which means ribit. What is ribit? What is the definition of ribit? Interest. It's the time value for the money. And because you gave me some money, I'm going to give you more money. I'm going to hold your money for a day or a week or a month or a year. I'm going to give you more money. It looks like ribbis, and therefore you shouldn't do it. Again, it's not really ribbit because it was in the form of a sale, but it's like ribbit. Therefore, you shouldn't take. He's not entitled to the improvement. So you got to be very careful when you buy a field. Make sure that your lawyer checks out who the real owner is. Because even though you're guaranteed maybe to get back the money, if the guy has the money, he has a car or whatever, but not necessarily you.
But somebody here got schwach on his card.
Right.
If I thought that if I go into your backyard.
Okay, and improve it, are you entitled to something?
Right.
Yeah. So we'll see about that. The nigzo comes, that's what we're going to talk about right now. The nigzo, whose field it was. Right now, we just said Reuben stole the field, and he doesn't have to pay. He doesn't pay back, according to Shmuel, he doesn't pay back the improvement because it looks like ribbit. But what about the improvement itself? What happens to that from the nigzo? That we're going to talk about now. Esvei Rava, Rav Nachman. So yes, it's Kash Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman said, name is Shmuel, that even if he tells him I'm going to pay for the improvement, you don't pay for the improvement. So that means that a stolen field, you bought a stolen field and you improved it, you can't get your money back for the improvement. Now we're going to Kasha, Amos in a famous mission Gittin. What normally happens? I buy a field from you. I'm a purchaser, and I buy a field, and now it's taken away from me because of some reason. You didn't have the right to sell it to me, or whatever it was. Now what happens? I had payers there in the field. The field's taken away from me, and I improved the field, right? So can I go after mortgaged assets that you had that I bought from you for this stuff? No. You know why? Because that's not a fixed amount. In other words, when I buy a field from you and you sell to me with a guarantee, I know you have a field over there and a field over there. So I know how much money you have backing this up, right? The bank, when you take a mortgage from the bank, they come and they check the property. They know that if they gave you 1,000,000 shekels, that your apartment that you're buying is worth at least 1,000,000 shekels. They can guarantee that. But when it comes to fruits and improvements and things like that, or paying the obligation that a man has to his divorced or widowed wife for food and maintenance and for the children, etc., nobody knows how much that is. If you're going to say that you're going to take this away, nobody's ever going to buy anything because nobody's going to know if this sum's guaranteed. I bought a house from you for $1 million, and I know you have $1 million of other property that guarantees it. But all of a sudden, you're going to say, wait a minute. Now, when I want to collect it because it was taken away from me, I want to go after $1 million of properties there. But you know what? You're going to take away also the shibud that I have on that property. Well, there's also you have to deduct because the wife needs to eat and the children need to eat, and there's payers and there's improvements. We don't know how much that is. So therefore, the purchaser cannot protect himself because he doesn't know how much that's ever going to be. So we have a rule that we don't take from the chasim mishubadim from guaranteed assets. In other words, I bought something from you, or I took a loan from the bank, and I guaranteed it with the house, right? So you can't from the guaranteed stuff. You can only take from the chasim mishubadim, which are guaranteed. You don't collect for variable. It's called variable expenses, where you don't know what that's going to be. They tikkun olam. Okay. Because of tikkun olam, and Rashi explains, they tikkun olam a little bit below. Shema tomer yitfru l'kuchos sakach. If you're going to say that the purchasers can even take that, nobody's going to buy anything. Everybody's got some obligations. It's not a fixed amount. Nobody knows how much it's going to be. So when people buy a field, they want to know that if something happens, they're guaranteed. If you're going to say that these other obligations are also going to be, in other words, I can know when I buy a field from you that you have another property worth $1 million that's free and clear, that's obligated to me. But if other outstanding obligations are there, like maintenance for wife and children and various other improvements, and people, I can't protect myself because there could always be. I have no idea what those expenses are going to be. This I can know. I have a lien on this property, and I'm lien number one. But if there's all kinds of other liens out there that are not fixed, how can I protect myself? So there's a rule: you don't collect from the chasim shubadim for those items. Oh, you don't take from obligated property, mortgage property. You don't take but you would take mnechor. let's say that those aren't obligated properties. Let's say it's simply you're owed the money because you ate you ate the payros that I bought a field and it was taken away from me and the fruits were there and I improved it. Oh, if the person I bought it from has cash or movables or things that are not guaranteed, unmortgaged property, I'm allowed to take that away. That means that I could Viktani Mia Lishvach Karkos. What's Shvach Karkos? I made an improvement in the land. What was the issue we just discussed? Reuben stole a field, sold it to Shimon. Shimon improved it, right? We put $100 into it. And when it's taken away from him, Shimon can only get the $10,000. He can't get back the improvement because it looks like ribbis, right? Here we see that in this case of Shvach Karkos, where you improve the field, you can't collect from the Chasim Shubadim, but from the Chasim Nechorin cash you could collect. Like if he had cash, you could collect. My love, are we not talking about this case when the Mishnah says here in Gittin that are we not talking about this case? Shimon bought a field from Ruvain, and now it's taken away from him. That means, and he says you could collect cash. So it goes against what Shmuel said. Shmuel said, or Nachman said, in the name of Shmuel, you can't collect the improvement. You can't collect the improvement because it looks like ribbit. Over here, isn't this the same case? And it says over here, you can't collect from the Chasim Shubadim, but from cash you could collect. It says, lo, with Balchov, we're speaking about a Chov. Balchov is different because by a Balchov, what happened? Reuven sold the field to Shimon. He didn't steal the field. It was a legitimate sale. He had some other obligations and he was planning to pay them with cash and he couldn't pay them with cash. So the creditor came and took the field away. That doesn't look like ribbit anymore because that wasn't because he sold the field legitimately. The field, it was a good sale, except somebody had a prior lien on it. He wasn't planning on giving him the field. He was planning on paying him back. If it's Bachov, also for Payros, Bachov means the Payros. If Bachov comes and collects a field that he had a mortgage on, he's not entitled to the Payros. He can collect the improvement. Speaking about a case of Gozel and Nigzal, like we said, because since the first case of Ein Motzi and Lachilas Peiros is speaking about a Gozel and an Nigzal, Sefer Nami begozel and Nigzal. So the Sefer also is speaking about Nigzal. In other words, if a person had his field stolen from the thing that you brought up before, and there were Peiros on the field, he's entitled legally, if he can make a claim, if there's a court, he can go get his Peiros back. So since the first case is speaking about Peiros, presumably the second case of Shvach Gros is also speaking about Gozel and Nigzal. So it's Midrash who says, so the first case of Ein Motzi and Lachilas Peiros, that's a Nigzal. If somebody stole your field, meaning somebody stole your field, sold it to somebody else, and you had fruits on the field, when you collect, you're entitled to collect. You can't collect from the Chasim Shubadim because, as we said, because nobody will do business if you're going to collect the Chasim. Nobody knows how many pairs you have, and it's impossible to quantify. So you can't collect for that. But the second case of Shvach Kakos, maybe that's speaking about Balchov. That doesn't mean just because the first case is goes on Nixel, you don't say the second case is also on Nixel. So in other words, we're trying to prove a case of where Reuben stole the field and sold it to Shimon. Rav Nachman said in the name of Shmuel that he cannot collect when the field's taken away from Shimon. He cannot collect the improvement because it looks like ribbis. Here we said here's a case where we thought that where stolen field, you could collect the improvements. So he said, no, it's not speaking about a stolen field. It's speaking about where the creditor came and took the field from the buyer because Reuben couldn't make his payments. But we didn't learn the Brisa explaining that way. So the Shvach Karkos Ketzad, listen to this. The second case, Shvach Karkos Ketzad, what's that? Haresha Gozel. We're talking about a case of Ksela. The case of the Brisa over there explains what the Mishnah means. So Shvach Karkos, what's the case? Haresha Gozel, Reuben stole a field. Now it's being taken away from him because he stole it. Kshugova, when he collects, listen carefully, Kshugova, when he collects, who's collecting over here? Gova is a Karen Nechasim Shubadim. He collects the Karen, the principal from even obligated property. V'shvach Gova Nechasim Necharim. Now, as we said, that you don't know how much that's going to be, so you can collect from only. What's the case? If it's the way we read it, how did the Brisa read? You stole a field, now it's being taken away when you collect. What do you mean? If it's the way you read it, when you collect, who's collecting here? Who's the Goslin collecting from? Goslin didn't collect anything. He has to give it back. Reuben stole a field from somebody. He stole a field from a Nigzal. And he sold it to Shimon. Vishbicha, and this is our case where Shimon improved it, right? And he improved it. And what do you say? That he can collect the shvach from the chasim and echorim. That goes against what Shmuel said, but Nachman said the name of Shmuel. Again, when you collect when Shimon, who bought the field, thought he bought it legitimately, but it turned out it was stolen, and he improved it, he could collect the shvach from the chasim echorim again. Amalei, lav trutzig. This price didn't make sense anyway. Because it says, when he collects it, who's collecting? He's not collecting it. You have to insert other words here too. You have to say he stole the field and then he sold it. And then when the buyer, Shimon, when he's collecting, so you have to change anyway. Then you have to explain this price anyway. It didn't make sense the way you read it. If it's not Bachov, you'll say also this being Bachov. This is a very dochik answer because it says Gozal. So you have to really say that you're really changing the words of this explanation of the Mishnah, the Bryce explaining the Mishnah. You're also learning about Balchov. In other words, that's how Rav Nachman and Shmuel will deflect this question. Again, he stands his ground. He says that when you bought a stolen field, you cannot collect for the improvement at all because it looks like Rivers Toshma. Another proof. Lachiros Peres Ketza, the first case. How do you compare? Haresha goes on Mechavero. You stole a field from somebody else. Again, Reuben stole the field. Now it's being taken away. Again, when he collects it, who's collecting, right? What's the case here? If it's the way you read it, why is it Gazlan collecting? He stole it. He doesn't collect. When he sold it to somebody else, and the other guy improved it. That's the case we're speaking about over here. And still you say what? He improved it. You're not even talking about Lachilus Peres, you're talking about the improvement. And the improvement says you could collect. It's again, it's a kasha on Rav Nachman and Shmuel. Amaravach Mayaskinan, Gashigazal Son Mechavero, Malaya Peres. Here's what happened over here. He didn't sell it. He stole a field full of fruits from somebody. Reuben stole the field from the Nigzal. He ate the Peres. The Nigzal himself, the Gazlan himself. There is no Shimon over here. There's no Shimon. Gazlan stole the field. Reuben's the Gazlan, he stole the field from the Nigzal, and he ate the Peres. And he ruined the field. He dug it up. He dug in their pits and ditches and caves. But Nigzal ligbos Karen. The Nigzal is coming to collect the Karen from the Gazlan, right? There is no sale over here. The Nigzal came to collect the Gazlan. He's entitled to the Peres that he got. You understand? Even in the other cases where where it's stolen, the Shiloh, can he collect the Peres or collect the improvement? But he got something out of it. So he's coming here. If he stole the field full of fruits and the Gazlan ate the fruits, that he can collect from the Chasim and Echorin. But the field itself, he can collect from the Chasim Mishubadim. Why are we talking about where he dug up the field, etc.? Because otherwise, what's there to collect? Just take the field back. He doesn't have to collect the field. The field's there. It's his. So no, he ruined the field, so he has to collect the money for that. That he collects from the Chasim Mishubadim and the Peres from the Chasim Mishubadim. But it's not a case of a sale. Our question, what's the whole issue we started with? If Reuben stole the field from the Gazlan, from the Nigzal, and he sold it to Shimon, and Shimon improved it, Shimon's certainly entitled to get his money back for the sale. But what about the improvement? No, that's what Shmuel said. Rabbi Rav Huna says a different answer over in this last case. It says Kagon Shenat Lua Masikim. What happened was, yes, the Gazlan and Reuben stole the field, and then outlaws came, Goyish outlaws came and took it away from him. We learned back in Baba Kama that if you're the reason why the outlaws took it, that you caused them to be taken, you showed them the land or whatever, you took it, you made it available to them. But Nigzal, again, there was no sale. The Nigzal came like Bos Karen, Governor Chasim Mishubanim. When he comes and collects the field, now what happened over here? They took it away. When he's collecting it, he's not collecting it. But if he comes to collect the field, it's Governor Shabbat, but Nigzal US Payros, Governor Chasim Mebar. So Rabba Rav Huna does not say, like the first answer, Rava gave an answer and says, well, the Nigzal lost his payers, the Gazlan ate his payers, and he ruined the field, so he's collecting from him. Rabbi gives a weird case that he smashed up the field, he dug it up. Rabbi Huna says, no. The field is intact, but it was taken away. So now, who is he? Nigzal Ligbos, when he's coming to elect, who is he collecting from? Right? They took it away from him. When it was taken away from him, not taken away in court, when he's simply going after, it doesn't mean that but he was taken away from him by these outlaws. So when he comes to collect from the Gazlan, because it's his fault, payers he collects from the Chasim Echorim, the property from Mishabarim. Rava, who gave the first answer, didn't want to say like Rabbi Rapuna, because in a court, not that he's coming to take it away from the like it's in court now, it's in a legitimate court, and they're arguing about it. The nixels, everybody's there. Whereas according to Rabbi Rapuna, when he says over here, that means that the outlaws took it away from him. When the outlaws took it away, so he doesn't like that. He says, din. So we're talking about where the nigzal took the gazlan to court, not where the nigzal is asking the gazlan for the money back because it was for his money because the outlaws took it away. Rabbi Rafun he didn't want to give Rabba's answer. Meaning the field's being taken away from its mashma, that the field is intact. Not the way you said it, that he's going to be paid from the chasam mishabarim. The whole reason we're talking about chasam mishabarim is because the field's not intact, or the chasam's not here, right? Like in the case where the outlaws took it away. Rav Ashi Amar, in other words, that's why you have to collect from the chasam mishabarim. If the field is here and available, just take the field back. Rav Ashi Amar, you don't have to give an answer. You don't have to say that it was dug up, and you don't have to say that outlaws took it away. We're talking about two different aspects of it. He stole the field. The Gazlan stole the field full of pears. He ate the pears. And he sold the field. Now the purchaser. Now there was a sale. When the purchaser comes to collect the karen, because that's all that he put in there. That he didn't put anything in. That's what we mean over here. So there was no improvement that we're talking about. And again, so we can't prove against Shmuel, Nachman's name is Shmuel, that if you bought a stolen field and you improve it, you can't get your improvements back because it looks like ribbit. These cases aren't like that at all. Or in this last case, which is similar to that, he stole the field, ate the payros, and sold the field to somebody else. So somebody else, Shimon, when he comes to collect the field, that he gets from the chasam mishabarim. The nigzal comes to get his payros, that he gets from the chasam mishabarim because the nigzal is entitled to his payros. Says the Gemara about Beilu Rabba Rafuna. According to the first two answers, it's a milval peh because over here he's collecting the nigzal is collecting from the gazlan. It's not like there was a sale. When there was a sale, that he has to start. He has a bill of sale which has a guarantee in it. So you could talk about a chasam mishubadim. But if you're talking about the nigzal collecting from the gazlan, there was no shtar there. It was stolen from him. So how do you get chasam mishubadim? Then it's simply like a oral loan. It's like a milva peh, like you took my thing without any IOU. Before he sold it, there was a judgment against him already. So therefore, when he's Rashi says, it's like it's like a milva shtar because it was he took him to court before he sold his assets that were going to be claimed that a chasam mishubadim. In other words, he took him to court and then he sold his assets. The assets that are talking about the chasam mishubadim, the obligated property that the nigzal is going to collect from. There was a court case before that, so therefore it's like a written IOU. So why can't he get the pairs too from the chasam mishubadim if the whole thing was taken to court before? The court case was only about the principle, not about the pairs. So my piska, how is that definite? Come on, you're going to say they went to court on one, not on the other? Stamina milsa in a regular case, kitava inish, karnatava beresha. Normally, in a case when a person has a claim, like this case, the nigzal took the gazlan to court, he first is going after the principal. For that, there was a court case. So once there was a court case that he owes him the principal, and then the gazlan sold other property that the nigzal is going to collect from those nechas mishubanim, it was like there was a written shtar because he took him to court first. All right, so what we had though today, that the main point that we've been discussing is that Shmuel says that if you buy from a gazlan, right, you're not entitled to the improvement. That's what Nachman said to him, even if he specifically said that I will pay you for the improvement, he doesn't have to. This discussion will continue tomorrow about Shmuel's case. Have a good day, everybody.